Good morning, all. We already have a quorum, but we will wait a couple more minutes and start our meeting at shortly after 8 o'clock, just to make sure everybody who wants to make it this morning will make it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we are 8 o'clock. I'm going to wait just about 30 seconds more here, and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning. Let's go ahead and call our meeting to order, and we will do a roll call. Lynn Eisberg.
Present.
Dave Howes.
Present.
Marianne Plunder.
Present.
Chris Ronis.
Hello.
Ray Rothrock.
Here, sir.
Jerry Sheffrin.
Yes, sir.
Vic Schachter. Oh, I see him signing on right now. Bud Trapp.
Present.
Vic, I see you there. And Rob Young.
Present.
Wow, 100% participation this morning. Thank you all very much for showing up on this beautiful morning. Into oral communications, anybody have anything they wish to bring up under oral? Chris.
Yeah, it's really a discussion a little bit about me, but it may affect others. My travel profile for the year is going to have me away probably a third to half of the meetings. So we need to either figure out a way that that's possible for me to participate, or probably I should step off because I'm not going to meet any of the attendance requirements kind of thing. So maybe you and I work that in the background unless you already know the answer.
I do not know that answer, but I have brought it up and I will continue to work that, Chris. Hate to lose you on the committee, but we will work that.
Okay. Thanks.
And we'll work forward on that. Anything else, any other oral communications? I don't see any other hands. I have a couple of things. One, again, unless we change the procedures, next meeting will be an in-person meeting. And they tried that this week earlier, and the equipment in the schoolhouse failed. I think they attempted it yesterday morning with another meeting, and it appeared to work, but I don't know the status of that. And so I will keep you all informed how that goes. And also, like I said, I need to work with Chris because the restrictions we have for someone attending.
Rose.
Yeah, we lost Dale. He's up in the hills.
And the most important thing is.
So while we're waiting for Dale to get back, I could give you a little bit of color. So we had a meeting, I guess Tuesday, and Zoom, like the Zoom servers crashed. It wasn't just a local thing. It seemed like some major problem. And then the other thing I would add is like San Carlos is basically pushing on the legislature to try to change some of this stuff to see if it's possible to ease some of these requirements. And then the last thing I'd add to that is that Sarah and I are looking to come up with a process for the committee handbook and some other stuff. And part of that is looking at whether all these committees need to be Brown Act committees and whether there's a way we might be able to soften the restrictions. So we're looking at some different things. I don't know what will come of all of it.
The one thing I can add, Craig, because it came up in the Conservation Committee, a member can add, if you can't make it, you can join as a member of the public. And then you are, at least in the meeting, but you can't vote or anything like that. So maybe once in a while, that might be a solution for Chris.
Yeah, and Dale, you back?
I am back.
Okay, sorry, I just jumped in while you were gone to fill in some color on this whole Brown Act business. So, but yeah, Marianne, I think that's a great idea, Chris, and I think that would probably be appropriate because, it's at the discretion of sort of the chair and the council how many meetings you attend. It's not a hard, like, well, you weren't there 80% of the time, so you're off. And if you showed up as a member of the public and didn't vote, I mean, I see the voting as a pretty minor part of what EPC does. I think that could be pretty workable, even if we have to stay under the current system. So I'd say that's up to you and the chair, but it seems reasonable to me.
Great.
Okay. Back, now that I'm back, we will continue on with oral communications. I've got a couple of things real quick. One, I want to recognize Randy True. I see Randy in the audience. Randy has applied to be a member of this committee to take the place where Craig Taylor has vanished from. And so at this point, we're waiting for a final official approval from the town council, which I expect at their next meeting. So welcome, Randy.
And Randy, you realize this is just a stepping stone to being on the town council. So just to tee you up.
That was my plan,
that was not disclosed to me in advance.
Sorry,
I was told we'd get to play with ham radios and do drills and a lot of fun stuff.
Okay, and the other thing is I should mention that Corey Stalker, who I also see, who just went screen silent on us, is apparently the interim assistant town manager who will be sitting in for Jeremy and will be our staff liaison to the EPC. So welcome, Corey. Okay, with that, I'm going to immediately go into approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections?
I'm going to
Chris?
abstain. I'm going to abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, thank you. So with that, all in favor, I think I got that. Motion is passed. And of course, they were very weak minutes. I apologize because I wrote them instead of our wonderful secretary who writes great minutes, and that's Lynn. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Jerry, who, and I think you can go ahead and share your screen, Jerry, if you wish. Although everything was included in the packet for your zone awareness project.
Is that working?
Works great for me.
I have kind of just an update summary of the project. First, I was able to obtain a listing of all the addresses in Portola Valley, or I should say most of the addresses in Portola Valley from a Zonehaven download that I got from one of our CERT teams. And there were 1,548 addresses. There was one zone missing, which I'll talk to in a minute, that I was able to locate, and I'm trying to get the addresses for those. We've drafted a letter of information that would be incorporated in the envelope that needs to be put into a published format, and Carrie Chin, who has helped me throughout this project, and I thank her for all of her assistance, is putting that into a published format. And as you'll see on the very last page back here, which I'll just scoot back to show you, I was able to obtain through Selena this Zonehaven produced letter. This one has been used by the Oakland Community Preparedness and Response Committee or team. So what we believe is that Zonehaven will provide this to us and allow us to specialize it for Portola Valley so that we can print and produce this, which has a lot of information about Zonehaven. Things like if you go to the map and click on your zone, the color of the zone will change depending on what the status is regarding that Zonehaven number. So there's going to be 2 stickers, and there will be a explanation letter, and there'll be this Zonehaven letter that will all be included in the envelope. There are 2 tags. One of them is a 3x4-inch tag, which is sort of intended to be placed somewhere in the home that people will easily see it or find it. We've looked at a static cling tag. That tag sticks primarily to glass and plastic, but won't easily stick to a painted wall, for instance. It also, from my research, tends to lose its sticky qualities after 6 months or so, especially if you keep putting it on and removing it. So one of the questions I will ask the committee before we're done is what they think of having this be a static cling tag, or whether we should go with a just a simple tag that could either be left on a sort of plastic board or could be removed and stuck permanently on something. The second is a 3-inch by 2-inch tag that is intended to be for a luggage tag to go on go bags. It's actually a business card. I had it produced as a business card. I was going to show samples of these if we were at a meeting, but of course we are not. It is intended that, of course, either of these tags could be copied by the homeowner, and multiple copies could be placed in multiple places. The luggage tag could be copied and placed on each individual go bag in the house. Because of the variation in the number of addresses in each zone and the minimum numbers we have to order, we actually will have to order a lot of tags for some zones in order to purchase the minimum number, which increases the price to some degree. We will also be co-branding this with PV and Woodside Fire Protection District. Excuse the spelling or the misspelling of that, which will be corrected. And I know that Jeremy has put in a request from the Woodside Fire Protection District Foundation for some funding for this project. I've put together a budget, which I'm showing you right now, which indicates that the actual cost of the printing itself for the stickers will be $1,124. It'll actually be a little bit more than that because I was able to locate PVE005, which would not downloaded and given to me. So it'll be one more zone. And then the almost $1,000 of postage for the 1,578 letters. We could do the letter printing at Portola Valley through the staff or a house printer. And I did get an estimate from Kinko's that can do this for around $1,500. I think I have that in here. I don't, I'm sorry. But what they would do is they would print the letters, they would fold the letters, they would print the envelopes, and we would have to stuff the envelopes, which I actually think is preferable because I'm concerned that we really want to be sure that the right stickers get in the right envelopes and not send people the wrong number. That's the one fear I have from this project. So most of this can be done either through an outside printer or with some help from town staff, although we may need a group of volunteers to help stuff and seal the envelopes before we can send them off. Postage would be done through the postage machine at the town center. So I'm going to show you the large tag, and I'm showing you basically two versions, one with the darker background and a cell phone here around the My Zone Haven number. And the other is a lighter background of poppies that has a map, which I honestly didn't recognize originally as a map. So there are two options that we could choose, and I'd be interested in whether board member or committee members have a preference for either the lighter or darker background. But as you can see, it has signing up for SMC alerts. It has your zone number and a pretty easy and visible number, as well as the Zone Haven link so that you can log on if you want. It has the AM radio station suggesting presetting your radio. And then it has a Q code, which takes you directly to the PV emergency information website link, which could have this as well as other information. So there's those two options. The business card is similar with less information, again, because it's made smaller for the luggage tag, has the number, the AM radio station, and the Q codes. The Q codes are small, but I've tested them with multiple different phones and they do work. I sent a sample of the draft letter at this point, which I'm not going to go through now. I hope all of you have read it and maybe identified any issues or problems or missing things that you think should be added. So the total project is probably going to be something under $5,000, depending on how much is done in-house versus how much is done through outside printing. My personal preference is to get as much as done outside, limiting the amount of work the staff has to do and limiting the amount of volunteer hours that might be needed. stuffing about 1,600 envelopes is not that hard, and could be done by a group of 5 or 6 in a few hours, I think. So that's the update on the project. So what I would like from the committee is, one, some comments on the 2 larger tags and how you think they should be printed as both a removable sticker or a permanent sticker. And secondly, whether to move ahead as the project as proposed. Chris.
So first off, I love them. I think the sticker is great. I think it has just the right amount of information, and the right stuff is large and highlighted. And I just checked the Q code. It even works when you print it on a screen. It takes you straight to the right place. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have absolutely no preference whatsoever between the background colors. I think it's so little it doesn't matter. I have a question on the stickiness thing. Does it work on a stainless steel fridge? Do you know? Did you test that?
You know, none of the sites I said listed specifically that it works on stainless steel, but if it's a smooth, hard surface, supposedly it will stick. And before I would purchase 2,000 of these, I will get samples of those and test them myself to be sure. But when I requested that, somehow they did not send me those kind of stickers. They sent the permanent kind. So I have to re-request the samples, Chris, but that's a good question.
Yep. Even without that information, I lean towards the static adhesive thing. I think,
yeah,
I just think that's going to be a good thing. And even if we have to replace them on an annual basis, this is a small amount of money to spend. We actually talked about this at the SERP board meeting, and we all just think it's fantastic. Fantastic. So carry on. Thank you. I vote to approve if that's what you're asking also. Should we spend the money? Absolutely, we should spend the money. It's one of the best projects we've done in a long time.
I think Craig had a question.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. First of all, yeah, I agree. I think this is great. When I looked at the big card, I was wondering if you could bold the AM 1680. You know, you kind of bolded the Zone Haven stuff. It seems like it'd be nice to bold the 1680 just to make it stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, that would be very easy to do.
Yeah. On the business card, does the QR code go to SMC Alert, or does it go to the Portola Valley Net Stay Informed?
Portola Valley.
Okay, because it's a little confusing because it says sign up, but then the QR code is going to take you. So is when you go to the Stay Informed, does it have the place to sign up for the SMC alerts?
I am almost 100% sure it does. I can't tell you 100% because I haven't looked through it that carefully.
Yeah.
Know that, but I'm almost 100% sure it does.
Yeah, so I think just make sure that they kind of link up. Then the other thing is, sort of to Chris's point, I would suggest that you, since once you're printing these things, the additional cost of printing more is so small, assume that you're going to do an entire second mailing of these or something close to it. For 2 reasons. One, you know, as a seasoned politician now, I've learned that, you know, you send things through first class mail and they still don't get there. So you're going to want a few around for people who don't get it. And then you might, in a year from now, just want to do a second mailing of these things just to get them out. And the cost of getting the actual stuff printed is pretty small, relatively speaking.
I also see people coming to the town center saying, can I get another one of those? And so on. So I do think having extra at the town center makes sense. Double, you're right. You know, it's another $1,000 or so. Somebody's money. So
yeah, why limit it to one? Because put one in your car, one in your every refrigerator, one, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And then the last thing, have you talked to any printers to see how much of this they can do? Because again, after, you know, learning how you send out mailers and stuff, I can give you the name of a printer that you could call up and discuss the project with. Because I mean, I think as a lay person, I would have always thought of FedEx Kinko, right? But now I understand that there's printers out there that do a better job of what, you know, Kinko's would do, just because that's their business.
I just got 3 recommendations from Carrie yesterday, so I have to look at those and see what they would do, but I'd be happy to look at your recommendation as well, Craig.
Yeah, so give me a call and I'd happy to discuss it with you. Thanks.
Rita, I think, has a hand up.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, because I'm in the car and don't want to touch anything. But this is really great, and thank you for putting the radio station on there. I quiz people all the time, what's the radio station? And you know, they don't know it. So thank you for that. And I want to ask, have you looked into getting like plastic ID cards similar to like the hotel plastic ones? I have a really great contact that I used once before, and it's just, if people receive a letter with something that feels like a credit card, they'll actually open it. And it would be something that's great to use. And I can send you that link if you want to look into it. But thank you for doing what you're doing.
Sure. I mean, I have no problem with that. I've been trying to kind of keep the cost as reasonable as possible. Originally, this was going to come out of our budget. We now have some additional funding possibilities from Woodside Fire. I don't know how that will go completely, so I don't want to break the bank, but if it's not a high additional cost, I would prefer it be a plastic card as well.
Yeah, I'll send that on to Dale so he can share that with you. But I in the instances that I used it, I found that people kept it longer and they actually used it, because paper is, you know, paper is just paper.
Great idea. Thank you.
But thank you. I'll send that on to Dale.
Cam, I see a hand, and not a face, but a hand.
Yeah, just 2 quick comments. One is if we don't, we might want to have a few of them that don't have the zone number on them, just so that people can write it in, just as to be able to impromptu make some additional ones. And the other is that we do have a ID card printer, but I don't know whether or not it's cost effective for us to do the printing, and time and cost effective for us to do the printing ourselves.
The town does, you're saying?
Actually, the badge printer that we have for WPV cert.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you want to do 4,000 of them, you know.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam. I'll put that down. The blank ones make sense. Bud?
Yeah, I like the card that has the zone PV number really large and red. The other card doesn't have it quite as bright. No, up one more, back up one more. That I like that. I like that one's too small.
Yeah.
The other one is, and besides that, map doesn't mean much. The iPhone means something.
Right. Okay. These came from 2 different people. I'm not going to give the names of who designed them, but your preference is noted. Dave.
Yeah, I was thinking as far as the radio station, is there a chance to put a link to the one that you can access it on the internet?
I guess it's possible. We're getting a little crowded for information on these sites' cards. So the only thing that would worry me is adding another line and what that would do to making things just harder to read.
Yeah. You know, I went to the website, Portola Valley website today, and I was searching for the link, and I know it's there somewhere, but I didn't come up with it.
Okay. I'll take that under advisement. Thanks for the idea.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I think maybe then one thing we could do is when this takes you to the Portola Valley Stay Informed site, we could make sure that that link to the internet link for the radio station is clearly visible. That would I think would solve your problem, Dave, without getting too many QR codes on the sticker.
Good.
Anybody I've missed?
Yeah, Jerry,
Chris,
can you hear me?
Follow-up?
It's Vic.
Vic,
Jerry,
go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I tried to put my hand up on Signal and I couldn't seem to do it on my computer. Number one, I like the one with the black background for whatever it's worth. You know, I think it's that's the one that is showing right now. I think it's simpler and sharper for whatever that's worth. Second, the cover letter, you went through that kind of quickly to save some time. I was a little worried of whether that it looks like it's pretty dense. And I'm a little concerned about whether people are going to walk through this whole thing. I think it's all looks good. I haven't read the content, obviously, but I wonder if a little bullet, a bullet summary on that letter or something that has the 5 key points with a one-liner might not be helpful to our residents rather than this, what looks like a fairly dense and lengthy explanation. I'm just raising that as a question. I don't have a strong view, but my experience with these things is people don't normally read much beyond half a page of this stuff. So you might want to keep that in mind.
Vic, I sort of wrote this and then turned it over to Carrie and asked her to sort of put it into the best possible format. She's got the knowledge, the experience, and the word processing programs that I don't. So I've not gotten back from her yet, her version of that, but I agree with you. I'm all for easy reading and don't want people to be turned off by a big dense sheet.
Okay, and I think if she, her professional judgment is to use this, my suggestion would be at the bottom, just put or somewhere at the top, a summary with 4 bullets type thing somewhere that basically tells the recipient what to do. So that would be my suggestion. It'll go whatever way it needs. And lastly, if you need a printer, I also have one I could recommend to you. It sounds to me you have a sufficient list. Great job, Jerry. Really terrific job. Thank you.
I see Chris has another comment.
Yeah, quick follow-up. One, your comment about sending someone the wrong zone is really resonating with me. And I think we ought to strongly consider stuffing them ourselves, getting 6 of us together and spending an afternoon to make sure it's right, says the guy who's out of town most of the time. But I would certainly try my best to help. And 2, just a direct answer, I think Craig's question. If you do follow the QR code, there is a link on the Stay Informed page to go ahead and sign up for the alerts. Yeah. I just tested it.
So I didn't hear any objections, so I don't know how you want to proceed, Dale. Should we just assume this is approved, or you want to put it?
We'll put it to a vote. I'm looking for a motion to approve Jerry's Zone Haven project.
Moved.
So moved. Second.
Already done. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do you have to have
can we do it?
do you have to have a vote by counting us off instead of just hands?
I think we're just going to do it by hands. So that's my view, chair's prerogative here. And as of now, we've already approved up to $4,000. So Jerry, feel free to use that. If you need anything more than that and Jeremy can't find it, please bring it back to the committee. But I think this committee would probably be willing to go above that if necessary to get this project done. So you have all your approvals. And do you have anything else you need, Jerry?
No, I have 2 other comments that I'd like to make, and I do have to leave the meeting a bit early, so I'd like to make them now if I can.
Yes, go ahead.
I know Selena's here and probably will talk about this, but I did want to give my opinion. It was a CERT activity this Saturday that I thought went really well. We opened a incident command in the Buckeye room. We set up a first aid station. We did some windshield surveys. We worked out some kinks in the paperwork. And it was kind of one of the best exercises to date that I think we've had. And I think it just shows that this CERT program is beginning to mature, and we're beginning to develop a really deployable group. And I hope that we can get more people to join. I'm sure Selena will talk about that more in her report. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that we do have a key. The key to the Buckeye room, as well as the EOC, is kept in a lockbox that is, believe it or not, buried in a water closet connection in the ground underneath all the weeds. And some assistance from our new council member, we have identified some outside information where you'll be able to now get it through a lockbox, and those who should have code for that will be given the new code and the location for that lockbox. Going forward, there'll be a small charge, 50, 60 bucks to get that lockbox, but it'll save a lot of people from having to muck around in the mud and getting a spider bite. So that's all I have, Dale.
Okay, thank you very much, Jerry. Let's, Craig has got your hand up.
Just real quick, if I could just add on to that. Yeah, the lockbox is about 65 bucks. So if you guys could have a motion at some point for, I'd say $75, that'd probably include the lockbox and any installation. And there are two places that I talked to Howard we could put it. One would be kind of on the side of the generator, you know, the big green generator. And the other, there's a little sort of fence on the back side of the library where it kind of covers up their air conditioner. And either of those could work. Howard kind of has a preference for putting it on the generator, on the wall of the generator. But I think it's up to you guys to decide your preference on where it goes. And if you don't care, then we can just let Howard decide. But that would be the other thing I'd add.
Since this is a motion that's not agendized, I think we probably have to agendize this, Craig.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't, you know, this is not something that has to get done tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just at least
it's just like one of those little metal boxes that you put your key in for your spare. Oh.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I mean, the other thing you could probably do is somebody could buy it and then you guys could approve it and get it. I mean, whatever. You know, I gave Jerry a link to the one that we used for CERT. CERT's got one. So I think that works pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to take care of it and donate it if necessary.
No kidding.
We'll agendize it and take care of it.
By the front door.
Yeah. Okay, very good. We're going to move on to item number 6. I put Ray here to talk about this, but we can generally kick this around for a little bit before we go on to some meatier stuff and try and get through that so we can still finish here, not too late this morning. Ray, do you want to take this, or do you want me to take this?
Well, I'll do it. I'll hop in real quick. So Jerry did a nice layout there about CERT and the maturity of the organization. So my hat's off to all of that. And this last Saturday, everybody freeze?
No, you're good.
You're good.
Oh, now we're back. Okay. This last Saturday, there was a big exercise. We had a debrief on the Tuesday night amateur radio in VNet for the locals here. I believe there were 15 people involved, Jerry, which was terrific. It was coordinated. I was the radio tech guy listening and standing by in case we lost comm. And on Friday, the little test we did actually, Craig called me up on the phone and we got it squared away. But anyway, it was very successful. And that brings in, and so that was Saturday. Prior to that, and after the floods and rains we had, the question was asked again by Jerry, who's very astute at these thinking about future things. You know, what's the protocol? We've got a bunch of hams in town. What do people, if the internet's down and the cell infrastructure is down, and CERT hasn't quite mobilized yet, where do you go? And if you're a ham and not really a member of CERT and you don't have GMRS capabilities, where do you go and what do you do? And so that's the first question on 6A there, who, what, when. And so we had 2 weeks ago on the NVNet, we had a nice long conversation about it. I tried to capture those best ideas and I put out a short memo to the group that was on that call, which was about 8 people, 8 hams, 8 active hams, most of whom are CERT also, but certainly the active people. I'm starting to get feedback. I'm hoping to get feedback, complete feedback by today, but I don't. Anyway, it basically, the big conclusion is the NVN repeater is the one everybody knows, everyone has programmed in. It's the one we meet on Tuesday nights, and that's the primary go-to place that we should all go to in the event of an emergency. And we can incorporate this into the CERT protocols and stuff like that. The other thing, so that's that, and I'll circulate that final memo to this committee just for information purposes. I don't think there's anything to approve here or to recommend. We might put something on the town website in our emergency communications as this is the place to go if you're a ham and blah blah blah. So that's that, and then we have to coordinate that with the town, a little bit of that. And this sort of gets to a bigger question that Dale and I started talking about. It's like we have a whole bunch of radio gear that hasn't been activated or touched since before the pandemic in a closet, basically at the EPC in Town Center. In fact, it won't even talk to the CERT digital network because there's no radio there with that capability. So what do we do with that equipment? It's sort of a question because the Buckeye Room is becoming the go-to place and CERT has demonstrated its abilities. So do we need that gear? Should we upgrade that gear? What should we do? And that's sort of the question of the day. No answers today. And Dale, if you want to have a discussion, we can. But I don't think that's not for today. But Dale?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
And I think there's also another question that came up, and in line with some of the emergencies that took place during the rainstorms is on the AM radio. And what is the protocol for when is that used? When is that updated? And who does it? And who makes the call for that? Because it has come to our attention. I know people have talked to me. I'm sure they've talked to Ray saying, well, gee, how come the AM radio wasn't updated and telling us a little bit about what was going on? And at the same time, I know Public Works was out clearing, culverts and so on. And, we do have some HTs that, have been in the town center that could have been used by that group. Fortunately, the cell towers were up and functional, but there's no guarantee that they would be.
Right.
So this is a bigger discussion of not only protocols for emergencies and how do we coordinate with CERT, but when and who makes the call to put the information on the AM radio.
Right.
And then there's probably a coordination effort with the Public Works group to get them so that they have emergency communications. Yeah. So there's a number of things here, and I don't think we have time today for a full-blown discussion, but I think maybe we ought to form a quick little ad hoc group of people who are interested to get together, chat about it, and maybe come up with some suggestions for our next meeting. Does that sound okay, Ray?
It does. I definitely think a member of the town ought to be involved in those conversations.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Because by default, people will sort of go to the town if they don't know anything else.
Well, all we can do is advise the town what to do and set up some protocols and what have you.
Right.
So, but the town has to actually do it.
So if I could
like, for
suggest,
example, I can very easily walk out here and change the message on the AM radio in a heartbeat, but I'm not authorized to, so it's not my job.
Yeah.
So
if I could suggest you guys form a subcommittee so that you could sort of talk about this in a little more depth and get the issues outlined and then pull in a staff member. Corey seems like she might be a good person to bring in when it starts getting to, you know, the actual procedures themselves.
okay, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so do I have volunteers for this, for an ad hoc subcommittee?
I'll join.
Mary Ann? Ray?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'd like to be on it.
Rob?
And will you keep me in the loop?
Yep, we'll keep you in the loop.
Who from the town can sit and advise or listen and contribute?
My suggestion would be that you guys meet once and sort of outline what you think's going on. And then I think either Corey or Jeremy could decide the right person to attend.
Hello, this is Comcast with a callback. If you were expecting this callback and you're ready to speak with a representative, press 1.
Oh, somebody's getting a Comcast call.
Press 2. If you would rather we called you back in 3 minutes, press 3.
It's Chuck.
Chuck Dow, you need to be, Chuck needs to be muted.
Okay, let's see, can I mute Chuck? Yeah, I can mute Chuck. There we go. Okay, we will do that. We will have a meeting. We may invite Corey even to our first meeting so that we can.
This is Comcast.
There we go. I muted Chuck for the time being.
And Dale, this is Rita. I lost my helper in the car to raise my hand properly, but I thank you for doing this thing about the radio, because there were a lot of questions when people lost electricity, they lost their phones, and even contacting the town hall because, you know, they have no heat. People have no heat, and it was hard to get information from the town center. So please, if you could do like a small survey or just put a thing on the PV forum or reach out to people and what suggestions they might have or what happened to them when they tried to reach out to someone, so you can get some ideas on what things are needed, what people were looking for. But really appreciate you doing this.
Great, thank you, Rita. Okay, we are going to subcommittee on that. We are now going to move on to items 7 and 8. And seeing where we are on the time, we're going to have another brief discussion here so we can get to some of our subcommittee reports, which I think are important, and also item 9. Item 7 and 8 somewhat go together. The town has asked for our priorities and what we want to do for the coming year. We had a meeting at the town council, I think the last one or the one before, where I got up and essentially said what we were currently working on without assigning any priorities to them. But we need to work on our priorities for the coming year. And Ray, in his infinite wisdom, said, well, gee, if we're going to talk about priorities, maybe we ought to revisit the charter. And that's why the charter was included in your packet today. It hasn't been updated since 2019. And so there are some deeper conversations here about the charter. And I think that we as a committee need to think very carefully about this. In particular, it has an item 4 about emergency equipment and supplies, which really much of that has been taken over by CERT. And we decided a long time ago we couldn't really have anything outside of, you know, baby aspirin and maybe some costs for medical supplies. And also, on the EOC, our participation on the EOC has been largely taken back by town staff. So I think that we need to think carefully about our charter and recommendations to upgrade the charter from this committee, probably to the town council. So I want to bat this around for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to ask for another another subcommittee to talk about charter and priorities. So anybody have any quick comments on either of these two items for the time being? I see you looking pensive, Chris.
Well, one of the things that comes to mind is almost every one of those bullet points ought to be advise and recommend as opposed to do. Right, that what it has felt like over the past years is that we're a recommend and advise committee. We don't actually have authority to do anything, so it should be reflected in our charter. That sounds awfully negative, and I don't mean it to be. I think it's just reality ought to say what we really do.
Okay. Any other thoughts here?
I would add to that, Dale, if we are a recommendation only committee, I'm not sure some of the things like this Zone Haven project would have got done unless the town was going to actually take it all over and do it. So I have some concerns about being a recommendation only committee. With that, I leave.
Yeah, I think that I see Chris's point, but the fact is, we do actually maintain the radios and maintain the AM radio, and we have, from the evacuation thing, we've actually been fairly active in, channeling that whole evacuation study and are, active right now in developing the evacuation plan.
Right.
So, there's a lot more than just advise and recommend. I think there are many things, Chris, you're correct that we are nothing but advise and recommend, but there are a lot of stuff we're actually doing. So we'd have to look through these.
Yeah, and I think, this is Vic, I think that's what we need to clarify in the mission statement. I think that can be done in an appropriate way so that we don't get caught up in too literal an application of getting the approval, whereas a matter of fact, the committee can carry out some of these functions very effectively.
Okay, Rob, you had a hand up?
Yeah, I agree that we don't want to get too involved in the actual work, but if you look at the past year, there have been some critical activities that people really needed to jump in and assist town staff and other consultants to do. The evacuation, the traffic plan, and we're still pushing on those. And we as members are critically concerned about the safety of our town and the people in our town. And from time to time, we need to jump in and assist strongly and actually do some legwork. So I would hate to see this committee not be actively involved and put some blood and sweat into it.
Yeah, and by the way, that was never my intention in that. I'm kind of looking at it the other way around. Are we responsible for doing that? No, we do it because it's the right thing to do, but ultimately all we can do is put our best effort into cajoling the apparatus that is there to come around to the right answer. I mean, even the evacuation study, we're not actually responsible for it. Ultimately, it has to be approved by the town council. We did all the work. Hopefully it becomes a rubber stamp kind of thing. I'm almost worried more in the other direction. Someone looks at it and says, your responsibility was, and you didn't do it, you failed. It actually wasn't. It's all we ever do is tell people what we think is best, and then they go for it from there.
The one thing that jumps out to me, the item number 2, ensure the existence. How could we possibly even do this?
Yeah, that's a good point. Ensure is a very, very tough word.
And is this something CERT is doing?
I'm not even sure
the existence of a network of volunteers with adequate supplies and equipment to respond to emergencies at the neighborhood level.
Yeah, good point. Okay, I'm going to ask for a committee to review the charter and goals. Do I have any volunteers?
Well, I'll volunteer.
Okay, Mary Ann, I see Rob.
How about Chris?
Yeah, I'd like to, I'd like to. I'm just worried about schedule again, but yes, put me down and we'll just work it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Randy?
Yeah, I'd be happy to volunteer, Dale. And looking at this list, I think in hearing the committee, I keep thinking that a self-assessment tool for preparedness would be really valuable. I come at this from the perspective of a, sort of a busy family with our second kid. Time has gone out the window, and I think being honest about how prepared I am for various emergencies, how prepared I am for my family. I mean, it has a new priority compared to 5 years ago before I had a family. And I think I interact with a lot of busy families in our neighborhood and our school system, and I think probably a lot of us are woefully unprepared. So some streamlined tool to kind of bring that out and could be really helpful. And there are various new systems and such that can make that even easier and more persuasive.
Okay, great, thank you. And so we've got a couple of new committees, ad hoc committees, because they have a limited time span to go away and work these issues. Okay, with that, I'm going to go on to item number, I believe it's number 9 here, participation in the Wildfire Awareness Day. And the reason I've got this on here is that in the past we had committed to participate and bring the communications trailer, but I am now aware that Ray is going to be out of town and unavailable that day. And so that means that to get the trailer down, set up, and stocked, we are going to need the rest of us who have some experience with the trailer to be available. So I would like any opinions there. The date on that is...
Yeah, I have an immovable on that. I'll be out of town, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay, so that's so the people with experience on the trailer, that then takes that down to Jerry and me. Anybody else has set up the trailer before besides Jerry and I? Ooh.
What's the date, Dale?
That is April 22nd.
Yeah.
I watched the last time.
You were a big help.
You can always have a drill to set up the trailer beforehand, and then you could have 5 more people who knew how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how long Ray is going to be out of town, so we'd have to do that the middle of the week. You're muted, Ray.
I think it's a great idea, Craig. We could do it anytime between now and then. It's easy. Jerry's the best. He's not here, but he's the best backer upper I've ever seen. He stored it for a while Station 8 is under construction. It's here now, but boy, Jerry knows how to manhandle that thing like you wouldn't believe. So why don't we pull it up and set it up? We can just set it up right here in my driveway for the time being.
Okay, so let's set up a practice day then, so we can get more of the EPC guys who are familiar with setting up the trailer, because I don't want it to be just Jerry and I.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Are the last 2 guys who know what's going on, and then one of us gets hit by a truck.
Yeah. And
let's not talk about that.
So like a Saturday morning or something would be what I would propose.
Okay, we'll set that up. Great idea. And then we can still support the April 22nd date, assuming we can get a quorum of folks who have experience. Super. Okay, now we've got a few minutes. We're going to run over a little bit this morning. I do want to get to Selena and Chief's report. So it is your turn in the barrel, Selena. And Rob, thanks for showing up this morning and bearing with us.
Not bearing, that's great conversation you guys are having. So I'll make mine as quick as possible because you're addressing a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. Station-wise, the rains and everything put the projects back a tiny bit, but now that the weather improved, both projects are back on track, working hard. Hopefully the next set of system, over the next 3 to 5 days will not be too significant, and there won't be any delays in the projects. As far as our personnel, we have a lot of personnel movement within the district. So we've permanently appointed a battalion chief after retirement of one. So Eric Zabala, who was an interim battalion chief, has been promoted to the actual full-time battalion chief position on our A shift. Vince Nanini has been appointed as an interim battalion chief on the C shift with somebody on extended leave. We've hired a new fire inspector. Kim Giuliacci came from a neighboring area and is one of our inspectors. If you happen to see her out, by all means, give her a welcome. Hello. We're in the process of interviewing for a new finance manager. That's actually going on right now. So we're going to have a new finance manager come summertime. The other thing was just the weather events, what you have all been talking about. So I don't need to go into much detail. Thanks to the town staff, the residents, for all the work that was done over that course of time. But it just kind of shows that, you know, we've been hyper focused on wildfire for so long, but it just shows that we have wildfire, we have earthquakes, we have rains with flooding and trees and power lines, that we all have to continue to never let our guard down. And the communications that you guys are having, as far as communications, you know, that seems to be the root, you know, with all of these incidents, you know, that is a critical point. And the work that you've already done has been fantastic, and just showing that we still need to move forward with that, because that's the vital factor in there. And that's all I got.
Thank you very much. And how did you fare during all of those events? Pretty well?
Yeah, we met the first week of January, so we had gotten through that really bad, you know, New Year's Eve portion, and then everybody upstaffed throughout the county, which was fantastic. The county, you know, really handled a lot. That the coast really took a beating, you know, as we're all seeing with multiple events going on. But our district as a whole fared very well. Portola Valley fared very well too. So yeah, no, we weathered the storm. It's just that's about the best we could do.
Great, thank you. Okay, Selena.
Hey guys, I'll try to keep this really quick. A lot of things that I was going to talk about were talked about. I'm glad, because you know, I don't have to go into a lot of the details. First of all, the board, which was formerly known as SERP, I have to say again, is no longer known as that. It's known as EPIC. So Emergency Preparedness in Communities. So if we could just take that other word just right out of our vocabulary, that would be extremely helpful. I am going to be releasing a formal notification, just letting everybody know that it is official at this point. So just get used to saying that. Also too, before I get into it, Randy had made a comment about having a self-assessment tool about preparedness, and our WPV Ready website actually offers that already. We've, if you go on to WPV-ready.org and register on there, you have access to assess your home inside and out. So we have a wildland assessment tool, which a lot of our communities use for Firewise certification or a credit or certification. And as well, we have a preparedness for inside the home. So if you have fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, and then it just gives you a basis of like, okay, where am I at? So Randy, I would suggest you go to our website. I'm going to make a post on the forum too, to let people know, since, you know, this tool is out there and you're asking for it. So I'm sure there are other people that need it. Aside from that, the CERT drill exercise that we had this weekend, the activation and deployment exercise, I cannot thank Craig and Mark and Cam enough. Craig and Mark, you know, they usually the planning for this takes days, and they just put like an hour, a couple hours into the planning phase of it. So they kept it very light, and it went really great. And it created this template that we can be able to use to have drills or exercises more often to keep our certs really engaged. We also utilize SMC Alert to deploy the certs there. You know, that we had a check-in process. Everything was, it was really cool. I kind of floated around and watched everything happening. It was really good too, to actually have people in place and go, okay, I need this, you know, let's send so-and-so to go do this one thing. And then realizing, you know, you have real people, you know, who have different skills and different physical ability levels. So determining what things they can actually do in the moment was really important and kind of eye-opening for us. So what we got out of it in the short debrief while we were there were some really good tips and pointers moving forward, and some great ideas for supplemental training moving forward. Also, too, we continue to have work days. Cam leads those. Rain or shine on the first Saturday of every month. We have one coming up here where I think we're going to be working on the Woodside trailer and doing some more first aid bags. And, you know, they continue to do work on the website and our database. So that's really great and helpful. Also, we have our last big thing is we have our skills, our CERT skills day coming up in March. So that'll be the 25th and 26th. So I encourage anybody that's never gone through the CERT training to do it. It is a hybrid model. You take the online classes at your own pace. We do offer office hours on Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 7:30 for people that just, you know, want to talk to somebody about the curriculum and whatnot. And then what we'll do is we bring everybody in March and sign them off on the skills. So we're really looking forward to that. And I'm just going to wrap it up with that.
Great. Thank you, Selena. Good progress. Any questions for Selena while we have her? Okay. Yes, Christy Corley, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was noticing that Moraga, Lafayette, and Orinda did some training for what you said, activation and deployment exercise together. Do we have a plan to work with our surrounding cities, even Los Altos Hills, even though they're a different county, because they are on one side of us? Just curious. Thanks.
We don't actually have a plan. We talk about it and we are in contact. So, you know, we're all different CERT groups, and if there is mutual aid that would be that is needed, there are definite steps that we have to take. In San Mateo County, the county actually allows for certs from multiple areas to be covered under their disaster service worker coverage so that they can be deployed and assist in other areas. But Santa Clara County, which is Los Altos Hills over there, I'm not sure what their coverage is, but this is obviously something we talk about. We talk about, well, I've been talking with the people up at the top of the hill and even in La Honda area, since we are neighboring there.
Thank you, Selena. Now we're going to go on to item 11, the town report. Corey, do you have any updates for us on either one of these items?
Unfortunately, I don't. I'm on day 7 now, so I'm still trying to get my bearings. I'm just happy to be here and happy to help.
Okay, thank you. Subcommittee reports. Ray's was written. I apologize. Lynn had submitted a written report on her WPV Ready summary, and I neglected to include it in the package. I will send that out with the next package, so you'll probably get 2 of those. Anybody else have an update they'd like to chat about on all the subcommittee reports and things we've got going on?
Yeah, Dale, it's Vic. I'd like to make just a brief update on the ranking process that we have, just to get everybody up to snuff as to where we are. There's been extensive conversation between myself and the town through Jeremy in terms of the 14 action items that came out of the recent report, in which, in fact, I set up somewhat incompetently an Excel chart, which reflects each of the 14 areas, who's responsible for it, what the time frame is. And what we've decided in our internal conversation within our EPC is that our subcommittee, which I think is Dale and Rob and myself, is that we're going to go over these assignments, because among them, there are 4 or 5 items actually which EPC members are going to need to assume some responsibility apart from the other 10. So we're going to have that internal conversation. We'll get back to the EPC at the next meeting with our allocations and hopefully get comfortable with the manner in which these assignments are made, since it involves some of our members. In addition, Corey is now, welcome Corey, is going to be our coordinator and participant in this effort for the town, representing the staff to the extent that they will be involved, which will be significant. That's kind of an update as to where we are. Lastly, I would mention that Jeremy has suggested, and I agreed, to do a brief presentation to our newly constituted town council at the next meeting, just to talk a little bit about what the ranking effort has been and what our efforts are going forward, so that we've got a continued complete buy-in on the town council, which you may recall unanimously supported our last recommendations on this ranking exercise. So, subject to any questions that may exist, that's the update that I have.
Okay, thanks, Vic. Chris, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was going to give the update as it's another thing that's suffering with my lack of being available and in town. I mean, the good news is that all the EPIC Woodside Fire Protection District integration is going wonderfully because of all the efforts of others. We're fortunate to now have several board members from EPIC on this call, on this committee. And I kind of wonder if maybe we ought to either find someone else to lead that effort or disband that subcommittee. We seem to be dealing with some of the issues that I think would normally fall there with ad hoc committees, and I think that's fine.
Okay, so is your suggestion, I mean, you've been doing such a great job in this whole coordination. You started that, what, 4 years ago, Chris?
No, it's been a long road, and it's been fantastic, the results. And I wish I could take some credit for it, but I think it's one of these things that is evolving nicely, and we now have that critical mass of people that are on the EPIC board and part of the EPIC leadership and on this committee. I'm not sure it's necessary anymore, and I might suggest we disband it, maybe do it ad hoc, as I'm happy to give updates along the way if something comes up. But usually by the time we get to me, we've heard of all the events from others already, which is just fine. It's the way it ought to be.
Okay, so I think that's a fair thing. I will agendize disbandment of this committee, and we can just report on it as needed basis. Is that okay, Chris?
Works for me, if that works for everybody else.
Okay. I see Craig Taylor's hand is up.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. You could send Lynn's report out now and then just include it in the next packet.
Okay, I will send it out. Okay. Any other subcommittee reports, ad hoc or otherwise, that we need to discuss? Okay, that's it. Our next regular meeting is on March 2nd. We now, I presume Randy will be an official member by then, so we'll need at least 6. I presume we will have 6. Anybody who can't make the next meeting? Okay, it looks like we are reasonably good. And
Is that a virtual meeting or an in-person meeting? What's the status?
As it stands, it's supposed to be in person. But again, I think we're going to be working through that, and I will advise you all of how we're going to work that. I think Craig made some comments. I've been talking to Craig and others about trying to make it easier for people to attend.
I mean, I'll have to find my clothes. I just have pajamas at these meetings.
And a haircut too, Vic.
That's right. Hey, that's a low blow. Craig would make a comment like that.
Well, I'm right there with you. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Absolutely, so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.